Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very inaugural episode of Operation Recall. I am Halo, one of your lovely hosts, and I'm joined here with two of my favorite companions. Why don't you introduce yourselves?
Am I your favorite?
Boy, baby.
Tell me. Yeah, okay, that's good. Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Jacob Joneskies. I am also here. I am the what you would call the expert opinion.
I don't know about all that.
That's what
all
we're
right.
going with.
What's going on, guys? My name is Jeff, also known as Playful, big time gamer. Just here to have some fun and chat some Overwatch.
I know this makes me a horrible person, but the first thing I wanted to say is, my name is Jeff.
My name is Jeff.
My name is Jeff. All right, well, so this is our very first episode, so I just want to start off by saying, just bear with us a bit. We're all new to this. It's totally, something that we're doing out of the love of our love for the game of Overwatch, and I'm excited about it, but I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert at this thing. So
it's going to be cringy.
It'll be really cringy. I mean, come on, dude. You see what I look like. I'm just a giant nerd. Like, come on.
I know I'm just a dirty weeb here, so it's going to get cringy.
It's all love and games.
As long as you're ready for it. There you go.
Yes, it's very, very true. All right, so I guess one of the first things that I want to say is, how do you guys feel that the state of Overwatch is right now? I mean, the game's been out close to a year now. We've seen it grow. We've seen it have some very fun events, some very somber ARG, shoot me in the face, I never want to experience that again events. How do you guys feel about the game and how healthy it feels right now?
Well, they definitely it's in a good place. Finally, they've had a lot. They've had a lot of downs. They, at least as far as meta goes, as like compositionally, what's viable, what's not. Competitively, I think it's in one of the better places it's ever been. There was maybe one other time that was about as good. That was in between 222 and Beyblade. That was also really good, but that was for a very short amount of time.
Yeah, oh god, Beyblade. I forgot about that.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about Beyblade. But it's great, and I think that as far as the dumb events, Blizzard is kind of over those more so, and they're realizing what they need to do to make the community happy. And as far as the casual players, they love their co-op, so they're introducing more of that. So I don't know. It's finally on an upward trend. They finally got their stride going,
So for me personally, the whole events thing never really bugged me. Maybe it was because I didn't really care about it or I didn't have any interest. I played the most probably when the game first came out in Season 1. I hit top 500, and then when Season 2 came around, that's actually when World of Warcraft, the Legion came out. So I don't know about other people, but I personally stopped to try playing the WoW, the Legion expansion. And since then, it was just hard for me to get back into the grind. But I know you mentioned compositional wise. And I think that's a huge topic. When are you ever going to find the balance? There's always going to be something strong, and I think that's a whole topic in itself. But I think right now there's no cheese. I mean, take a look back. Season 1, you could have as many characters as you wanted. Like a double Winston, double Tracer. Yeah.
The double Winston. I loved it. I hated going against it, but I love playing double Winston on my team, dude.
So that's the funny thing that's been for me is that I was similar to Playful in that I played the game from the very beginning. I didn't hit top 500. I just hit Master this season, but it was really cool to me seeing it grow, and also seeing how viciously people fought for one hero limit. Like, they did not want that double Winston, the double Lucio, the double Tracer, and then people who pick it up now don't even know what the game was like back then, which that kind of blows my mind a little bit.
For sure. And I think that just also goes to show that Jeff Kaplan and his team, they do care about, they have an ear to the community, which I think is very healthy.
Yeah, you have to be careful about making these kind of changes, though. You can't pull a Steam and just do all this stuff on the fly. I think the fact that they have the public test servers up pretty consistently with every single new change they plan on implementing is a really smart decision. I mean, they've been doing that since day one, though. I know they've been doing that with World of Warcraft. Yeah, I know with World of Warcraft back 10 years ago, we were still playing on that public test server just to try out the new raids and stuff like that. So. I mean, they've been around the block with this kind of stuff, so
yeah,
they're not going to mess things up too bad.
I think the one thing that I still am a little frustrated on, and I'm sure anybody who's played the game in the past week can agree, is that when it comes to game-breaking bugs, I just wish it could be a little faster. I mean, May spent an entire week with not being able to slow anyone down.
That's really
Genji
bad.
still has the the lagging animation with his ult. The no registration when you do actually hit someone, that kind of thing. Like those are some really game breaking things. I don't know. It just feels kind of annoying sometimes.
Yeah, what day did that patch come out?
The May one came out with, or the May bug happened with the Uprising patch. So I mean, that was literally the 11th.
The 11th, and of course, now as of recording is Tuesday the 18th. So that's a solid amount of time for a lot of these bugs to be in here. May is especially pretty massive. The fact that when you ult, you're not going to be slowing people in your ult. I mean, you can still freeze them. Sorry about that. You can still freeze them, but the fact that you're not going to be slowing people, yeah, exactly. If they're not getting slowed, they can just run out of the ult before they're frozen. It's pretty nutty. So they could definitely work a lot faster on those things, but I don't know. I think they're just trying to pump out new content and stuff so often that the team that just fixes these bugs isn't big enough to really fix a lot of these tasks.
Speaking of new content, at this point, like, what do you guys think Blizzard can do to push Overwatch? I mean, what, just new heroes? I mean, new events? I mean, to me, again, like, events don't...
There's two things I feel like they gotta work on. So first, they're doing a great job with the PvE content. Oh my gosh, Uprising is so much freaking fun. Like, when they came up with the Junkenstein's Revenge, I was all over that. But this Uprising PvE content, I am absolutely loving. Like, they need to keep that up. That's a great way to keep a lot of the casual players interested.
Definitely for casual. I mean, with the competitive side of things, as long as they're making sure the game, they don't break it, and they change around the hero balancing, I guess use a Riot style balancing where they'll just consistently change heroes here and there just to keep the meta fresh, keep the game fresh for people. And then just slowly adding heroes as long as they're not broken, as long as their kits aren't too similar to someone else's, things like that. Well, I think just will keep people engaged. That's why you come back when new events come out, when new skins come out, and especially when there's new heroes. That's what keeps bringing players back over and over and over again.
That's a good point.
You mentioned that because one of the biggest complaints I have about our newest hero is that I love Orisa. She's awesome. I play her a crap ton. But she's literally a mishmash of every ability and every character in the game. Like they basically said, what can we do to make a character that does everything at once? And then they give us Orisa. So that's the thing that I'm a little concerned about. Is like they have like an established history of the different kinds of abilities and ideas that they have to put forth. But I'm a little worried. Like I don't think necessarily Overwatch can be a League of Legends with 150 something heroes or something like that. I don't think it could be that kind of game just because there's only so much you can do, especially considering it's a first-person shooter. So it's like that's the other place is like at a certain point it becomes, do we introduce a new hero or do we do what we did to Lucio and then just completely change the hero?
That's a good point.
When you say that, I think it's probably a lot smarter to just rework heroes. I'm not gonna lie, just because when you think about it, you're gonna go switch to your hero. You're like, okay, this isn't working. You're in your comp game. You gotta switch fast. You're like, okay, I have to go for a stall comp, and you press H or whatever your button is, and you see 57 heroes, and you're like, oh no.
Yeah, right.
It's just
like the Uma Thurman Kill Bill music. That's all I'm picturing.
It just, you don't know what. Some people just like lose it. They'll skits out and they'll have no idea what to do.
Gosh, I
feel like I'd have that issue.
Yeah, I feel like I already have that problem.
So I hope they just rework champions a little more than consistently add new ones. Just for that, I think that problem and the balancing issue would just get worse and worse and worse, considering it's really a rock paper scissors balancing, because you can switch to all of them at any time in the game. So,
Playful, I know you said you played a lot in season 1. What were some of the heroes that you played the most?
I played a lot of McCree, Soldier, and actually towards the end, I actually ended up when I got top 500, I dueled actually with a main Roadhog player, but I played Zenyatta actually towards the end. But always been.
You lovingly remember the days of 150 HP Zenyatta dying to a single Widow body shot.
Yeah, it was tough, but I mean, I love Zenyatta, man. He's just you just stay in the back, just Discord stuff. You can kind of, be a shot caller at the same time in terms of who's Discorded. But
So, speaking of a couple of different recent things,
That's nice.
who really, really?
That's real.
That's you.
That just happened.
That just happened. You did that.
I did.
I'm coming for you.
This is my phone. This is my phone across the house. It'll never happen again.
Sincerely amazing technology where you can hear it from rooms away. No, what I was gonna say is, so moving on to a couple of other things. I know there's a couple of big things that have happened recently, especially considering the special, wonderful guest that we're having coming on. I feel it's only fair that we talk a little bit about the pro scene, where it is right now. I know we talked about just before we started today is NRG. My babies. Oh.
My heart goes out to them.
It's like
I feel so bad.
I have never seen so much potential in a team. Like they got IDDQD, you got Seagull, you got there's
Mendo now. If I'm correct.
Yeah, Mendo, right?
I believe. Yeah. Which, by the way, Mendo is still amazing DPS. I would consider him better in certain aspects.
I would say that I think mechanically Seagull might be better, but I think in terms of, I apologize. I think in terms of game sense and game knowledge, I think Seagull might be a little bit better, but in terms of mechanical skill, he's definitely not.
Mendo definitely is up there. Yeah, he's really, maybe not on the Genji, but on his scan, he's probably a top 5 DPS in his role.
So what happened there? Was there internal drama? Was the team just, were they just losing too much, or just people went their own ways, or what's the deal?
So they recently had picked up a whole new roster. Ajax on support with wasn't it Dummy? Yeah, Dummy and Ajax on support. You had IDD, QD, and Mendo on DPS and Unlocked, and Harbaloo on tanks. Pretty much every single one of these guys you've seen on pro teams before.
And these are also people who have been playing since the beta. It was a really big deal when they got that team together, considering these were personalities. A lot of them stream, so there was personalities people recognized, and there was a lot of talent, raw talent.
Yeah, and I do feel bad, especially for Ajax, because I met him at the Overwatch Open Finals, and such a nice guy. Seriously, did they just have a sweetheart, but.
Did they just have a losing streak or something, or
They played in their very first tournament together. Was it this last weekend?
It was either last week or the
Overwatch Monthly Melee.
Okay.
It was the 17th. Oh, yesterday. Oh, this last weekend. Yeah, super recently. So they didn't win a single game, if I'm correct. Actually, no, they beat Meta Athena.
Yeah, they Meta beat Meta Athena. But it wasn't just a simple matter of them losing the matches. I mean, they were making critical errors throughout their matches.
Pretty consistently.
You could tell that it seemed, at least to me, it felt like there was an issue with synergy. I mean, you can
huge.
It is huge. It is huge. And I mean, you can have all the raw talent in the world, but if you're not working together, if you're not communicating, if you're not working as a team, I mean, Overwatch is a team game. And at the end of the day, if you're not making those proper calls, if you're not, working with your alt combos properly, I mean, it's just gonna all fall apart, And I think that's what happened with them, is that part of it might be, they're not practicing as much together. Like I said before, a lot of them are streamers, and I mean, you have Seagull, who just decided to step back and let Mendo take his spot. So he could focus more on streaming. So, I mean, if you're not running those regular scrims, if you're not coming up with regular, competitive strategies, you're not communicating together, not getting used to playing together, I mean, you're not going to have those moments where, Ana knows that she has Ana Boost and Genji knows that he has Dragon Blade. He just needs to swift up and Ana's immediately going to know what to do. You're not going to have those intuitive moments if you're not playing together regularly,
Yeah, I think...
You can go ahead, my dude.
Yeah, I was just saying. I think that's something that's just so unspoken. Chemistry. And I think it's so low key but so important. And as you guys mentioned, a lot of these players are streamers. So they have really big egos in the sense that they got a lot of attention to themselves. And when you're working with a team, do you guys think a team of all alphas can work together? I don't know. I think that's a topic for discussion. My personal opinion, I don't think there could be a team of 5-6 people with all alphas, because there's just be too much clashing. I think you could have 1 or 2 alphas, and not to say the other people are going to be just like weak and subordinate, but if you have 5 or 6 big name egos, that might be a problem, and that could have been an issue.
Yeah, there would have to be a fight there.
Yeah.
Somebody would a dominance would have to be asserted, but all us nerds or just passive aggressive dudes.
That's true.
And the weird thing though is that they did scrim quite a bit. I mean, haven't played any tournaments, but they've been together scrimming for about a month. But
Right, which is not it's not a small amount of
not
time. I mean,
yeah.
that's a good amount of time, especially if you're. I mean, most pro teams scrim 6-7 hours a day. So I mean, there's a lot. That's a lot of time spent learning the ins and outs of your team. So it's just kind of surprising to see them fall apart like that.
Yeah, my only thing is they might have been scared to go against top tier teams, fellow top tier
Fair
teams,
enough.
because they would be in tournaments against them. You see that a lot in other games, larger games like CS:GO and League of Legends. You don't see top tier teams scrim against each other because they don't want to reveal what they're going to be doing, things such like that. But at least with Overwatch, it's still really so small that the actual
Gotta
best
play
teams,
against the same
yeah,
people.
the best teams, there's a really small group. There's a gap between the top 10 and then everyone else. There's a massive gap
Definitely.
between that.
And I think part of that will be resolved once we get the Overwatch League out. Is hopefully once that starts to come to fruition, we're going to see, 1, a lot more pro teams, but 2, we'll see a lot more of a growth of the community itself, just in terms of allowing people chances to compete against people at their level.
Honestly, it's all about the moolah. It's all about the moolah. So the more money coming in, the more teams you're going to see, the more talent is actually going to get showcased and go for these teams. Because you see so many of these top 500 players not on teams for reasons. There's no money in it right now. There's no reason for them to actually be trying to scrim and go on teams. They just like to play the game. And so they want to go for top 500. They want to go for the best place on the leaderboards. And of course, a lot of these guys that are on teams, they're not playing 6-8 hours of competitive a day. Like a lot of these people that aren't on teams, they're scrimming a majority of the time. Then they have a couple hours on comp every so often, every day, every couple days. So.
And that's especially if you're doing something professionally, or if you want to do it professionally, that's not going to be enough. And I mean, why put the time in if, like you said, if there's not the money there?
With the open, it's just going to be so nice for the community. I think that a lot of these smaller teams are definitely going to kind of fall apart, and it's going to be an adjustment period for the orgs that can't buy into this system, into the Overwatch open system, and everything is going to get shaken up for a month or two, but once everything gets settled down and starts working, the competitive scene just going to be a much nicer place.
That is one thing I will say I'm a little worried about, though, is with there not being like a centralized place for all of Overwatch competitive. I mean, you have Gosu, you have the monthly melees, but I mean, besides that there is a lot of those grassroots movements. I mean, Softlock itself is an example of that. So it's like I'm a little concerned, a little worried, because like I kind of like the way the grassroots feel of Overwatch in terms of the community has kind of built their own community in a way, without necessarily the involvement of Blizzard. So I'm hoping that can continue alongside what Blizzard has planned, and it's not like an outright replacement.
They're trying to do that. You saw that with the announcement of using third-party tournaments to feed into the league, trying to make it so they don't completely crush all these other tournaments going on.
They did. Was that a recent news?
No, that that came out with the announcement.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
Okay, I must have skipped. That's pretty next level.
Yes.
From them, I gotta say.
Which is definitely nice, just because there already is a lot of ingrown tournaments. Like I don't think they wanted to compete with Gosu. Just because, specifically, I think Gosu in mind, just because they're so big, and they don't want to compete with Apex. They don't want to force players to have to choose. If they want to play an Overwatch Open, then they can't play in any of these other large tournaments, and possibly losing out on this money. And so they're using that as a system to actually create for tournaments still to be run, even smaller tournaments like ours. So
yeah,
good job.
I'm so hopeful that it's gonna keep going. I mean,
turn out well.
Yeah, it'll be pretty amazing. I mean, I know me personally, I live in Ohio, so I am super pumped about the idea of having like an Ohio team. I mean, you know us Ohioans, we love our Buckeyes, so
Yep.
I'm like gonna lose my crap if I can have like an Overwatch license plate or something, like whoever the support player is for Ohio. I'm just saying, Halo's got your back. Like, you ever come to Columbus, you need a drink, like, I got you. I got you.
Word.
I mean, we already had the Colorado Clutch here, so we already had a state team, so I'm feeling good already. We already know what that feels like.
Not even right. All
Rest
right.
in peace, Colorado Clutch.
It's true.
I'll miss you.
I know. Pull one out for him. All right, so I guess we are getting close to the time for our interview. So here we're going to have, for our very first episode, we're also having our very first interview. So I'm actually pretty excited about this, and I'm also incredibly nervous. So you guys got to hold my hand. I'm terrified, y'all. I'm scared.
It'll be all
Playful,
good.
I need you right here by my side. Like, I need you.
Right here by your side.
So we have Bess. He is the coach for RocketeSports. And for those of our listeners who might not be familiar with RocketeSports, they made a big splash in Softlock's Athena Cup back on the this was on the 14th.
Was it the 14th?
It was not this past Sunday, but Sunday before that. And I'm horrible at math.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever that date is. The 9th, thank you. For week 4, they competed all the way up into a grand finals, eventually losing to Eastwind. However, they gave them a serious run for their money. Eastwind, which is a team that's competed in the Athena Cup since the beginning of our new season, they had went uncontested, did not lose a single round for the entirety of that day until they met with RocketeSports, who beat them in the very first round. So it was an incredible match, and we definitely it's uploaded on our YouTube channel. I definitely recommend anyone who hasn't gotten a chance to watch it to take a look, because I was on the edge of my seat the entire time.
Yeah, it was. I didn't get a chance to. I've just been skimming over it when you were talking about it just recently, and it's really cool to see that these guys, who there's definitely some good names in here. You have Ultimaweb, who used to play for Method, which, what did they turn into? Method turned into a bigger team, if I'm sure, and then they kind of fizzled out.
Right, they turned into a bigger org. They had like 8 or 9, I want to say, and from there, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they fizzled out from there, but they were a solid team. They were like top 5 for quite a while in the infancy of Overwatch competitive, like the first, I want to say 4 or 5 months. They kind of held a top 5 spot in NA. Then you have people like, I know Clone Man. I've scrimmed and seen Far before quite a few times. So
Far
some
had
notable
some
names.
Incredible moments during that series. I actually, after watching it, I went back and like looked up a little bit about Far, and he's got a nice history. I'm happy he's found a team where he definitely seems like he's synergizing well with them, because he's got some skills, and it definitely showed.
Yeah, and to be going up against Eastwind like that and actually being able to put numbers up, which in the most recent monthly melee, Eastwind did qualify for that, and then went on to beat Selfless, went on to beat NRG, went on to beat pretty much everyone, but I think they lost to Immortals. I'm checking right now.
Yeah, I think they lost.
They beat Selfless, and then they lost to Selfless, if I'm correct.
Yeah. Yeah, and Playful, I know you mentioned before you were asking about NRG. I mean, this Eastwind is a team that, for Softlock is, we're great. We're just still a little small and have been growing exponentially over the past couple months. And then to see a team like Eastwind, who we literally have seen them grow from the very beginning and then beat NRG was incredibly satisfying.
Yeah, beat current professional top tier teams.
Yeah. For anyone listening out there, that's what Softlock, that's what we do. If you want to get tournament exposure, you want to gain tournament experience, if you're a team up and rising, you got to go through us first. We're the gatekeepers. You definitely want to reach that next level. Every other team is come through us.
That should be our new
let's
tagline.
Let's put a little plug. Yeah, the gateway to Overwatch. Professionalism. I
But yeah,
like it.
I guess it's time to go ahead and plug some of the stuff that we do. So for those of you who don't know, this podcast and everything that we do is part of Softlock. It's an organization started back in September by the founder Icon. From there, we've run a couple of events. We have the Minuteman Pickup Tournament. So literally every Friday, you say if you're a tank, a flex, a DPS support, you get thrown on a team with 6 people, and then you compete in a tournament. And that's literally open to anyone. We don't discriminate based on SR or any issues. And then also we have the Athena Cup, which is what we were talking about before. It's an open tourney that we're running. It's a 12-week. And at the moment has a $1,300 prize pool, which grows every day as people donate. And it's incredibly fun. It's awesome to watch. And I personally take a lot of pride in it just because I know I'm a small-time gamer, did a lot of grand strategy games until Overwatch came out, and then with Overwatch just kind of really got into it and it's really nice to have something where I can see teams and form grow and then eventually become like Eastwind in the OMM. Like, that's incredible.
Exactly. And number one thing, when we ask our players, like, why join us? And again, it's two reasons. One, tournament experience, and number two, exposure.
All right, so I just talked to Best, and it looks like he is ready to join us. So I'm going to go ahead and bring him in, and we'll go from there.
Beautiful. That's what we'd like to hear. I definitely want to pick his brain a little bit.
Hey there, man. This is Halo.
Hey, what's up? I'm Best, the RocketeSports coach for Overwatch.
Hey, welcome on to the podcast. Like I said before, it's our very first episode, and we're so thankful and happy to have you on. We were just talking a little bit about RocketeSports and the amazing showing you guys had here in our very own Athena Cup back in our week 4. Why don't you tell us just a little bit about RocketeSports, where you guys have come from, and how you've grown, and who's on the team right now, and what you guys have been doing?
All right, so our team consists of Deadly on hit scan. We have Clowman 16 as our Reinhardt main tank. As our off tank, we have Far, our projectile DPS. If you know him, his name is Ultimate Wep. He played at the Overwatch Open. And we have Majesty as flex support, and as Lucio support, we have Moth. We were originally under the name Doot Doot, but we just got signed.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, we were Doot Doot before. If you guys remember us playing back in the day, we just made a few roster changes, adding Ultimate Wep and Far onto the team,
Awesome.
Good pickups.
Dude.
Good pickups.
Yeah.
I approve.
We were talking about just before. I was Jonskis that actually was mentioning that he had seen Far and a couple of other teams, and it definitely, that experience shows. I watched that match between you guys and Eastwind, and I don't think that he missed a single hook.
Yeah, he was really on point that day. Since then, because of that match, we've actually made changes to the way we play, and we're putting Far and Roadhog a lot more because of that performance.
Cool. So this is Playful here. So just wanted to congratulate you guys on such a good showing, and thanks again for being on the show. I just have, just first question to you, Bess, is just like, what is your role as a coach? Are you the one who's kind of watching the replays, the VODs? Are you the one who's analyzing the losses?
Yeah. So a lot about coaching is me personally. I came from Rutgers University. I was coaching them previously, and we went 23-0 in the TESPA summer series and the fall season. We competed at the top 4 TESPA LAN as well. And I actually was approached by a few of the players of Doot Doot, because a few of them are collegiate players, and they asked me to coach their team. And so what I do is I watch over VODs. I make sure, during the match, during scrims, I schedule a way for them to improve, such as, orienting blocks in a way that the first block is like a warm-up block, so to speak. The second block is a real tough block, like against opponents a little better than us. And then the third block might be a cooldown block. We do dry runs, things like going through who's doing what. We work through communication issues. If anyone has a problem or an attitude, I work with them with that. So it's a little bit of everything, really. The mentality, the gameplay itself, and of course, the mechanics too of the game.
We were actually just talking about chemistry, team chemistry, actually, before you came on. What's it like, managing different personalities on a team? Does your team have kind of one guy doing the shot calling, or is it a combination of people? Can too many alphas on the same team be a bad thing? Is that a good thing from your experience?
Personally, I think that every team is completely different. And any team can be successful. So as long as you have the right support staff, we have an amazing analyst in Bloxy. He came from Nerd Rage in Europe, and we have a nice a manager potentially coming in very shortly who's been helping me deal with players' emotions and stuff like that. But in terms of actual team construction, I'd say that one or two alphas is as much as it can take. You can't have multiple people calling over each other, and even in that case, we've actually had a few problems with that. So we've actually changed around the calling role, and we've sort of let people tone it down a little bit, and certain people have to talk up a bit.
Definitely, it's fun. The reason we were talking about that in particular is we were talking about some of the changes that had come to NRG, and definitely, those changes showed, and it seemed like they didn't have that synergy, that it takes to run a team to be able to work together to kind of build off of each other without even necessarily having to say anything. Just that feel of knowing where your team partner is going to be. And it's very nice to hear that this team. It seems like you guys have really taken that seriously and making sure that there's not those conflicts, that you guys are working together, not just in terms of working together in the game, but also outside the game. That's awesome to hear.
Yeah, we actually I don't know if you know much about Doot, but we are a little bit of on the weeb side. If you know what that
That's
means.
what I like to
Yeah,
hear,
so
my friend.
our manager, our old manager, Cable, we're still good friends with him. He's going to London during the summer, so we need a manager to fill in now that is a bit more serious and has more time to spend on their hands. But we actually do anime nights with the whole team. We Some of them don't exactly love anime, but they sit down and they still watch it with us, and it's always a good time, just memeing with all the guys.
That is incredibly awesome.
No, it's true. I mean, making friends with your teammates is probably the best way to get synergy. The faster you do that, my go-to of telling people is always to play some stupid, stupid game together. And I think having anime nights works really well too. When I hear that, I mean, I've seen so many times where teams will get together. They're all super mechanically skilled. They're all really dedicated, but they play, they do their scrims, and then they don't talk to each other. And those teams always just fall apart. And like the synergy just isn't there until you're really like a close knit group of people.
Yeah, for us, yeah, it's been taking months. I came on 2 months ago, and since then, we've been working on the synergy a lot. Um, it's always a work in progress to get better every day. But as long as you have your teammates and you can, metas change, the game changes. But I'm going to be straight honest that most of our players, they are very mechanically skilled, but I wouldn't compare them to like the Mendos on energy, or like I wouldn't say that they're the best players in the world, but we could definitely be one of the best teams in the world.
Speaking of the meta,
Humbleness. I like that.
speaking of the meta right now, in your opinion, what is the meta and what really separates the good teams from the best teams? Because everybody everybody on Reddit be like, oh, this hero's in the flavor of the month right now, but so again, the question is, what is the current meta that you guys feel, and what really separates it? Is it the teamwork? Is it the mechanical ability at the end of the day? What separates the better teams?
Yeah. So if you come from other esports like League of Legends or CS:GO with like established metas and ways to play, you can kind of tell that Overwatch is a bit newer on the meta side. So with the way that our Lord and Savior Jeff Kaplan is doing it, he's making sure certain heroes are strong, certain heroes are weak. He's trying to balance it out. So in my current, watching 6 hours of scrims a day, doing multiple tournaments a week, what I found is that every map requires a slightly different composition.
So
To
good.
be especially like a Nepal Sanctum requires a different one than a Nepal Village. Obviously, Lijiang is a completely different game. Hollywood and Kings Row are like another ball game as well.
So
So
do you, sorry to cut you off, but like, do you kind of have a list like, okay, Nepal Village, this is what works? Do you have like, like a Spark Notes for every different map that you kind of just pull up? Like, oh, we're on Hollywood first point, guys, we need to do this setup. Is
yeah,
it that blatant?
yeah. So for Rutgers Esports, when we went to Tespalan, what I did was I actually had a notebook because I thought that was the best way to carry information around, because laptops, I don't know why, I just thought that people would hack it for some reason. So I actually do have everything written out in cool docs now, and I have everything also handwritten as well in terms of certain compositions for certain maps. But as the meta changes, just this recent most patch, I actually haven't had the time to go back and re-edit it and change it all around. And a lot of times, you know, I'm not gonna fault some of the players, but a lot of players aren't capable of running every hero in the game. You know, it's impossible to expect your Ana one trick to be able to run a perfect Zenyatta or your Reinhardt one trick to be able to run a perfect Winston. So we really try to play around, set up the players for their success. Yeah.
Well, that it's funny you mentioned that because when I went back and I watched the entire match between you guys and Eastwind, which again was absolutely on the edge of my seat the entire freaking time, and it was really interesting to me because it seemed like both teams were really strong on their dive comp. And in particular on Temple of Anubis, it seemed like you guys were really just killing it with those, and then making sure with Majesty with that Ana, those offensive grenades, just every single one just seemed to be really hitting it exactly when it needed to be. But it seemed a little weird. It seemed like at the end of Temple of Anubis, you guys went for a standard kind of like death ball, and I was a little confused because it seemed like the dive comp had worked so well up to that point. Is that a composition that is kind of like a go-to for you guys, or is it more so of a, we've tried this multiple times, now we need to kind of go back to basics? Was it kind of that kind of situation?
Yeah, so we have a lot of variations of comps. For the first section of Temple of Anubis, I know we were running a lot of dive and defense, half dive as well. But for the latter half, we always like to revert back to comfort. And it might be my fault, it might be part of the team's fault. But as a coach, you can't really sit in there and tell the players what to do. But you try to tell the players during scrims and during practice and then before the map, this is what I would like to see. And a big thing I've been preaching is variation on 2CP defenses because teams can get kind of stagnant and run the same thing over and over. So I guess the Moth took it, the caller for the team, our Lucio player, he took it as though we should change it up. And Far and everyone was giving input about what they felt like was really working that time. And Cloman felt adamant that his Reinhardt could take on the dive comp. And I like that about players, them being confident. But maybe looking back, it might have been the wrong decision. But a team can only grow and learn from that. If you see Eastwind right now in the Alien Monthly Melee, they're actually doing super well, and all hats off to them. But I think the next time we play, we can take them.
Honest, I think you can too. And the reason is because I feel like Eastwind gets too confident. And I thought that was very apparent in your guys' match with them on Nepal and Hollywood. It seemed like they pushed really, really far up. I think it was on Nepal where they staggered Deadly with that tracer kill. It seems like they get overconfident, and you guys take advantage of that. And you come back, you push back, you play smartly. Far is patient with those hooks. He's not throwing them into a Genji deflect or anything like that. It just seems like you guys are very tactical in making sure that every movement is done with purpose. It's not just done because, oh, I see an enemy here, let me shoot in that direction. It's because I know that my team is going to follow through and support me, on that elimination.
Yeah. Of course. A big thing that I say in the dive comp and the dive meta, and even old in the triple tank meta, the first and foremost thing you want to do is punish players' mistakes and positioning. So if a player is out of positioning, that's first and foremost, the first target. Second target would be, like a low HP target. The third one would be if someone has an ultimate, keeping track of enemy ult economy. So you really want to shut that specific player down, that specific character down. And then other than that, it's really just kill DPS and kill, Ana first.
So can you elaborate on, players being out of position? So obviously, if a healer is like, far out that, but can a tracer be out of position? Say, can a Genji be out of position? Or can you elaborate a little bit more for the viewers who don't know what it means to be out of position?
Yeah, so if the game plan, let's say for a defensive team, right, is that they want to run counter dive, if you run counter dive, you kind of have to be in their face all the time. So it would be very out of position if, let's say, your soldier, in triple DPS dive, counter dive, he would be positioned too far up because the soldier in the triple DPS comp is really meant to be like the sealer of, like the Winston, the Tracer, and the Genji are diving in for you, and the soldier is really the one sitting far back and finishing off the key kills, and always getting tactical visors off. So if he was to move forward like even one like full block, like let's say Temple of Anubis, he went down from his perch and went onto the bridge,
Mhm.
that one block might actually be a critical mistake because the offense could easily punish that. There's also times where tanks can be out of position even. And Genjis and Tracers can obviously be caught out. If you're too far up and you have no line of sight to your support and you have no tank immediately ready to assist you, it's either you saying that you're going to carry the game or that you're just going to pretty much throw the game.
Yeah, one of the two.
Classic Genji, I need healing from all the way across
Exactly,
the map.
exactly.
You definitely see that a lot with tanks, though. More so that don't get punished as much as they should be for being out of position. You see that with Reinhardts. They might not have their heals direct right next to them, or they won't have their Roadhog in the wings to help them out, and you just don't see that kind of stuff get punished enough. And it's really good that you're actually pointing that out first and foremost, is making sure that the people that position bad die first. And you don't see that as much now that Zenyatta's fallen out of favor, because people aren't confident that they can burst down characters. Because I remember when Zenyatta was really in meta, around the initial time he was buffed from the 150 HP Zenyatta, it was definitely, you windshield battle and then you just discord and kill whoever's in front, just because you can burst them down so quickly.
The addition of Ana, I feel like, has made such a profound change into the way Overwatch is played. I have to. I'm on the side of probably on the unpopular side of I dislike the way that Ana changed the game.
I am with you. Preach it.
Best,
Preach
I would
it.
love to
Preach
hear
it.
your thoughts on this. Is that I'm a support main, so I'm going to start with that. Mercy main. She does a surprising amount of damage. I liked that when Overwatch first came out, the goal wasn't to heal everyone through the damage. It was to keep them alive long enough for them to kill the other team. And I feel like with Ana, the game changed from that kind of tone to much more of a kill the healers, kill the team. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Ana's introduction. Well, actually, a necessity for Ana is that Overwatch is an FPS shooter game, so you kind of need to have supports that can aim. And Zenyatta, was the only pick that we had. So I guess for some reason Blizzard thought that we needed more. Mercy was so popular as well. I think it adds more variety to the game. It adds a different play style because, like you're seeing right now in this tournaments like the Overwatch Rumble qualifier happening right now, you can and the actual Overwatch Rumble happening soon. You can actually see that teams are running Ana versus Zenyatta, Ana versus Mercy. All the supports are getting their chances shot in different compositions. 3 tank is obviously better with Ana, and then dive is obviously better with Zenyatta, and then if you have a fair, it's obviously better with Mercy. So I think everyone's getting an equal chance. Now that they've toned it down a little bit.
Yeah,
That's
it
fair.
used to be a little rough. Definitely used to be a little rough.
I think
beginning.
Beyblade meta was the perfect example.
Yeah, Ana was broken. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not a very skilled of a player, but I mained Ana and I got to the top 500 easily season 3. Like easily, like it wasn't too much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Actually brings up a good point. I know you mentioned the Rumble, so I know RocketeSports. I mean, you guys. I assume you guys just got signed. Am I correct on that one?
We're actually not signed to RocketeSports. So how it works is that we are just in a verbal contract with our org owner, a potent beast, and he's a great guy to work with, and he's working towards getting his contracts, sponsors, things like that. But for the relative part, we're just in a verbal agreement right now.
Gotcha. Well, the reason I brought that up is because one, you guys have been doing an incredible showing. It's been really awesome to watch. But when it comes to the Rumble, I know we have some of the open qualifiers coming out for a couple of different events coming on. Is that kind of the next step for you guys in terms of where you guys would like to go, or where exactly are you guys hoping to take the team at this point?
So I always judge a team by not their tournament results. I judge them by the individual players and what they're really bringing to the table, and how hard they're trying. So tournaments, they can come and go. You could have a bad showing that one day. You could have an all right showing the next day, or you could have a great showing. It's not really the end all be all of a team. Ghost 2 points aren't the discerning factor for team. I think that for us going forward, we've been scrimming a lot of tier 1 teams. The what's it called? The not Envisions, the Liquids, the Complexities. We've been scrimming some nice names out there, and the reason we're doing that is because our goal is to be tier 1. I myself want to be a tier 1 coach. I think I'm capable of doing it. I'm willing to put in all the work, and I think all of our players are on the same page that we really, really want to succeed. So, we're willing to do whatever it takes to get there. And if it means, grinding 6 hours a day against tier 1 teams, then, the only way is up. And you can't really judge it just by the tournament play itself.
Really appreciate that line of thinking because I think there are a lot of teams that I personally have seen grow and shrink due to that. They try to go to a tournament, they maybe only get to maybe quarterfinals, get the semifinals. Maybe they're knocked out in round one, and then they treat that as a total defeat, a total, lack of ability. And that's not necessarily the case. I mean, especially if you're entering a new open, you're going to get put up against some of the harder teams if they have a higher seed. So it's like you got to go into that with the right mentality of, we're going to come out of this with experience. We're going to come out of this with knowing what mistakes not to make the next time, and then be able to go forward. And it's great to hear they got a coach that understands that fully. I mean, it sounds like you're willing to put in the work, and if they're able to match it, I don't think there's anything that can stop you guys.
Yeah, of course. The coaching thing is a bit on and off right now because really what's happening is that we need more analysis work too done. A new roster, we don't have established statistics, and Overwatch doesn't have the VOD system or the demo system that CS:GO has or something like that. So a lot of it's done through hand and paper and like through computer programs. So we're focusing a lot more on analysis of specific players and how to make them actually maximize ult economy, maximize things like getting the most number of picks possible without dying. We're trying to get them in the best positionings on the maps. We're trying to establish official callouts. Things like a team that can a team could really use those things, and so we're doing that as well, to get everyone on the same page.
Definitely, most definitely. So I guess my next question, in terms of your team composition and everything, I know we've seen some great showings from every single team or a member of the team. One thing in particular that I just wanted to point out that I really appreciated, it seemed like your team adapted well to, was on Hollywood, when you guys had to try to make that 4-minute defense after the round with Eastwind. You pulled around that Torb comp really freaking well. There's not many teams that can do a Torb comp and actually make that work, especially against a dive. I was incredibly impressed with how long you guys stalled that out. I think you guys even took it into overtime at the end there. Is that an example of one of the things you were talking about before in terms of making sure that your team is confident in their decisions? I know you mentioned how he's like, I'm going to play Reinhardt. I'm going to go into this dive as a Reinhardt. Was that one of those moments where your team was like, I think we can do this? Moth was like, I'm going to jump on Torb and we're going to make it work? Or was that more so of something that you guys had practiced, rehearsed, and were ready to pull out should you need it?
So I'm a bit of a nerd, kind of, so to speak. So what I do is I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to esports. I've been around all the esports, and Overwatch is what my next plan. And I actually have a 3-page document just about the Torb defense first point Hollywood, and each I don't expect the players to read 3 pages. Like, honestly, I would not expect any real esports player to read 3 pages of notes. So I actually have a paragraph for each player to just read through about their role, in plain language. A bit of cursing here and there for them, to get amp them up or whatnot. But it's really gives them a highlight of what they should be doing, and I have a few of those written out for certain comps, that specialize in certain parts. I had a few Symmetra ones written down for specific parts, but that stopped because Symmetra is no longer meta. But part of my job is to make sure the players have everything they need and are ready to succeed. So we've actually been practicing that Torb comp for a long time. We actually full held the first points against most tier 2 teams consistently 4 full minutes with the Torb comp. It's something that we thought originally was a gimmick because our name was Doot Doot, but perfecting a gimmick makes it our own. So I mean, I've always been a big preacher of designing comps around that team. And if Moss, Torbjorn can carry, then by every means, let's play Moth Torbjorn.
Now,
the pajamas, create your own meta right there.
I like it. I understand that there's a lot of specific things you can do on these first points, whether it's offense or defense, where each player does a specific thing. But do you have anything similar to that onwards, say with payloads, where you have specific strats for the second and third points, or is it more of a go with the flow kind of deal? Because that's what I've always kind of run with.
So you've always done the go with the flow Jones
Go with
scheme?
the flow, going into the second and third points, kind of where you have the compositions you would play, but actual specific executes, I guess.
Yeah. So the first and foremost thing for a shot caller on defense to do is look at their team composition. So, going into first point, right, we have our set composition. And then going into our second point, you could have a couple different compositions, actually more than a few where possible. And so what we would do is you could switch off that Torbjorn comp we just talked about. And for second point Hollywood, if we were to lose that, we could actually change to a dive composition. So the whole thing we swapped over Torbjorn to Lucio, Reinhardt to Winston, and we would just dive the choke point and attempt to full selfless hold them. That's an example of what we would do, given a specific situation.
To be able to have that level of detail into what kind of things that you guys are willing to do, like, that is incredibly impressive. And I think for me personally, I think it's really interesting to hear that kind of perspective, because I've talked to coaches for different other teams. Actually, me personally, in season 1, the coach that I had, she was on the team with Maple Barkley and a couple of other people. So it was really interesting hearing from different pro teams in terms of what their abilities and their strats were for certain sections of maps. And I think you might be the first person I've talked to who is like, all right, this is what we need to do for this situation. This is what we need to do for that situation. That's actually really in depth, and I wish more coaches would do that. And
Yeah.
because I think a lot of players are like, I know how to play my DPS, I know how to play my support, but I might not necessarily know how to adapt to XYZ composition or, things like that. And I think that's one place where coaches can improve. And it's really freaking awesome to hear that you're like already on top of that. Like that's impressive, dude.
Yeah, every problem has a solution. I've been in talks with a few coaches. I don't know if it's been announced yet. I don't want to leak anything, but I'm actually close friends with Seamoose, the current coach to be, I think, or current coach of Energy. I don't know if I just leaked there or not, but he's a good. I met him at Tespelen. I've been messaging him back and forth, asking him ideas, about what should happen or what this or that. And he's a really good guy to work with because, one, he works for Energy, a big name, a big team. Even if they are in a slump recently, it doesn't mean that necessarily is a problem. It could just be a thing to grow from. But going forward, I'd like to see coaching, support staff in general, management, analysts. I'd like to see them get more credit because they are in the back scenes and they are doing a lot for these players. Most of the players you see on the team, like let's say in Apex Finals, they're not the most. Some of the players are absolutely crazy. Miro, on Winston, or who are you on Genji, but some of the players just aren't as mechanically proficient. And it's the job of the coaches and the job of everyone to make sure the team gels well together. Because like you said before, you can't put together a team of just 6 all-stars and just expect them to, be the best in the world. So it's really about team cohesion and really about making sure a team understands what their job is at all times and, having problems come up and then fixing them right away.
Like what I'm hearing, man, it sounds like you got a really solid hat on what your role is within it, and I completely agree with you. I would love to see a lot more appreciation come out for the coaches, for the analysts, for the people who literally spend, like you said, 6 hours watching VODs, trying to make sure that this team can do the best that they can. I would like to see a little bit more there, and I definitely hope that that's something that Blizzard makes a place for, as we go forward. And I know that's something that Softlock will, and I know that's something that we plan to, is, make sure that people understand that it's not just the people shooting with Soldier 76, it's the people who taught him how to do that,
Yeah, of course. And you guys too, bring community content, to the front end of esports, like really, showing up and, supporting us, and running these tournaments and, putting your own time, money, all this into it, and showing support of the game itself too. It really brings a sense of community. It's just like you can't develop an Overwatch community if you don't have the people invested in it, So you really comes from the people first. And the fans are great. I know we have like a lot of people that watch RocketeSports, so we have all the memes in Twitch chat. But we're still hoping to grow. We're still hoping to get better, bigger. We're trying to get official sponsors on board. We're trying to get all the nooks and crannies done with, and And you guys showing us the support, and even this interview is actually a great opportunity for us. So thank you very much too.
Like I said before, I really appreciate you coming on. We're hitting the end of our hour now, so before we have you head off, I'd love to hear where can our viewers and our listeners find more information about Rocket Esports, and also, or do you know if there's any events coming up that we can hopefully see you at?
Plug everything, my friend.
Please do.
All right, so for my original team that gave me my first Overwatch coaching job, Rutgers Esports, go ahead and follow them on Twitter. Follow Rockets Esports as well on Twitter at Rocket Esports. Rockets Esports, my fault. There's an S in there. And go ahead and give myself a follow on Twitter at BestStudentOW if you want to check out any of the stupid stuff I have to say on a daily basis. And make sure to follow all our players and our teams. We're qualifying right now for the Overwatch Rumble. Hopefully, our team makes it through. But if we do, you can expect to see us against the C9s of the of NA or the Fanatics possibly. So hopefully we'll see you guys there.
Myself, I know Jonskis and Playful will probably be cheering from the background.
Oh, for sure.
Thank you very much, guys.
All right, appreciate you coming on, Best, and hope to hear great things from you guys in the future. Whoa, that was so cool. Beautiful. We had our first interview. How's it feel?
That was nice. It was easy. Bess is a nice little talker.
I know. I like it. I got to just chill out while he talked. It was great.
I feel like he could probably go on for hours if we didn't kick him.
An entire notebook of information on just like 3 pages on just Torb defense.
Oh, girl, trust me. You don't. I've been in his shoes. Actually, a little story time real quick with one of the guys who plays for Eastwind now, Elkia. I coached one of his earlier teams who played in Cali before it was renamed into Athena Cup, McRae back when he was an off tank, and I have a journal. I have a journal just like filled with stuff, just like strats, communication, composition, execute. It's a lot. It is a lot of work. So I commend him. I really do, for being able to stay on the grind, because watching other people play games for that long without getting any monetary benefit definitely takes a lot of dedication.
Certainly sounds like it. Yeah, man. I mean, it's almost like a full-time job, and so hopefully it pays off, and that's all they can ask for, hopefully that it pays off, and it's all for naught.
Yeah, I definitely think with a team like FAR, that Moth, Majesty, oh my gosh, you guys got to watch that match. Majesty hit every grenade. It as a support main, it made my nipples hard. Ugh. I just and then Deadly. I mean, Deadly on the DPS. It just all worked together really, really well. I definitely think we're going to see some great things out of them. I'm excited. All right, guys. So we are hitting the end of our hour. How does it feel? First episode. We've done it.
Done.
How's it feel? Feel good?
Boom. I feel like it's gonna get harder and harder. I just hope that Overwatch has enough content. Enough tournaments are coming out. That's one of my worries with the Overwatch League, is there might not be enough stuff going on every week. With all that, with that main thing centralized.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, I mean, we still have the Gosu, we have the monthly melee, we'll have the Athena Cup. Hopefully, there'll be that content out there. Yep. I know we're still going to be here. I know I'm not planning to go anywhere. So hopefully things will keep moving along.
As for me, I got 3 words condensed into one. Feels good, man.
I like it. All right. Well, I appreciate all of you wonderful listeners, and I hope you really enjoyed this. We'll be planning to do this every week. The hope is to release a new episode at least every Wednesday. So keep tuning in, keep checking out. If you would like, you can check out our website, Softlock with an E at the end.com. That's where you can find more information about the Athena Cup, the Minuteman, and also about this very own podcast. We also have our own Discord channel where you're free to join, find other people to play Overwatch with, even possibly find your next team. So hopefully we'll see more from you, and I hope you guys appreciated this podcast. So we'll see you guys next week. I'm Halo. Check signing off here.
Bye.
See you guys.